affects the entire community. The future of the next generation to come, like myself, like these other children that are here now, the ones who will carry on the vitality and potential of our community. The beauty of the land that we are invested into, our homes, the air we breathe, the water we drink. You always hear the adults who are running for office say, "We pledge to take care of the people." They are going to make it safer for us, and here we are years after Rimco, questioning if we should go for round 2 when we still have not recovered from our first dose of chromium. It's not like the community of Willits needs to see a report to know that it's no good for any of us, no matter what side of the fence we're on. By the way, we would like to read that report on chromium. I looked up pollution in the Willits area on the computer. There were news reports that talked about a high number of people with serious medical problems related to be believed to be related to chromium, and another that said a boy died from drinking the water from a creek in Willits years ago. It is not to the best interest of our community to bring more chemicals into this already challenged environment. Thank you.
Outstanding set of youngsters here. I really appreciate it. I know you need to show your support, as I do, to those youngsters, but we have to keep that to a minimum. Thank you very much. Jay Frazier, followed by Marilyn Buzinger.
So I'm Jay Frazier. I've been a contractor building houses in Mendocino County since 1973. My comments today are regards to the alternatives proposed to the DEIR for siting and processing facilities for the quarry. Has nothing to do with the quarry whatsoever. I realize we're challenged in our need for rock. We need it badly, and the quarry is one of the few places we're still allowed to get rock. The attorney for the applicants, Chris Neary, began the Planning Commission hearing last week and again this week with a recap of his client's repeated efforts throughout the county to establish their asphalt plant and cited various rejections by county and city officials. He especially commented on Willits officials, where current Northern Aggregates operations are located, having repeatedly rejected their applications. I've included two attachments to help show that Mr. Neary was somewhat mistaken and also point out an existing alternative. City Planner Alan Filari stated in a letter to me on October 8th of last year that there have been no recent applications for asphalt or concrete plants within the city of Willits. The last one was 1993, which is 14 years ago. You know, people changed since then. You know, the elected officials, there's a turnover. Who knows what happens if they apply now? He also said, my records do not show any applications for asphalt or concrete plants at all under the name of Northern Aggregates or NorCal Concrete. Furthermore, Mr. Filari adds, it's certainly conceivable that should a project meet all applicable requirements and satisfy all the required findings for approval, including environmental findings and consistency with the Willits general plan and zoning, this project could be approved in the city limits. As a final note, please refer to the other attached letter that I've put in your packet from the Environmental Center in Willits, which states in part that assuming such a plant employs state-of-the-art pollution control technologies, which the applicants are asserting it will, and is in several other particulars found to be compatible with land use, such as siting on industrial zone land in the city limits might be entirely appropriate. There have been Willits properties for sale with proper industrial zoning in the last 2 years that have been largely ignored by the owners of Northern Aggregate in their single-minded quest for a plant location. Would not the preceding two letters seem to spell out an easier, more logical alternative to bringing this difficult project to the resource lands? Copies of the letters from Mr. Filari and the Willits Environmental Center are in here.
Thank you. Marilyn Buzinger, followed by William Buzinger.
I'm Marilyn Businger, and I live in Brook Trails. We've been in this county for well over 3 decades. Actually, I have two-part here. Specifically, one question I have about water use. In the summary for the impacts, the EIR claims to find no evidence that the water use for this massive project would adversely affect other wells and springs in the area, and I would like to know how anyone could possibly come to that conclusion, and what possible scientific basis that there is for this. I don't have time to go into anecdotes about how use of water, and I'm just addressing the use of water, not even the pollution of the water from all of this stuff, how the use of water affects the watershed, in this case, primarily, from what I understand, the Russian River watershed, but also it would affect the Eel River watershed, at least those two. And we already know what kind of problems we have with water availability in our area. And I know Mr. Pinches is very aware of the water issues. Beyond that, I'm having a real problem with this 7 blind men and the elephant approach to looking at environmental impacts. The significant environmental impacts that are outlined in the draft EIR, when taken individually, are reason enough for concern. But the draft EIR fails to look at the totality, fails to gauge the total impact on ecosystems and the quality of life of the citizens of this county. And the stated mitigation of impacts is arbitrary and therefore ultimately meaningless, particularly given the projection of 90 years. That's beyond the lifetime of these youngsters that spoke. I mean, you know, that part is in itself is crazy. Mitigation means limitation, not elimination. There is no guarantee that the damage will be reduced to levels that do not negatively affect humans and wildlife. If in the future it is ascertained that harm has been done to people or the environment, who determines the degree of harm? The entity responsible for the damage. What compensation is due? In too many cases, as has recently been demonstrated by the Remco debacle, no amount of remuneration is adequate for the sickness and death inflicted upon the victims. And in fact, Remco has been cleared of responsibility in the cancer deaths of local citizens exposed to their toxins. Is this what families residing near the Harris Quarry can look forward to, and not to mention the La Vida Charter School students, if the proposed changes are approved? Can we trust Northern Aggregates to do the right thing? Presently, they're operating without a permit, without any meaningful oversight. They've already shown bad faith by not honoring the conditions of their last permit and being out of compliance in the areas of extraction and reclamation. As supervisors charged with acting in the best interests of the citizens of Mendocino County, I exhort you to remember the precautionary principle and reject Northern Aggregates' request for zoning change and for a 90-year permit. Thank you. And I would like to, I actually submitted this to the Board of Supervisors several years ago. This is an outline, but it's mostly the precautionary principle, so you understand how important it is for all your deliberations.
Thank you. William Businger.
Yeah, I've lived here as long as she has, actually. I've heard a lot of interesting things from a lot of experts this morning, and I won't get into any of that. I'm just going to address my comments to items that cannot be mitigated. By their own admission, there are several issues that no amount of adjustments can help. Number one is